Welcome to the D&D Fitness Radio Podcast, brought to you by your hosts, Don Saladino from New York City and Derek Hansen from Vancouver, Canada.
We have a guest in person.
Wow, you surprised me.
You know what? I'm actually I'm really excited. I mean, he messages me. He's like, I'm in traffic. I was like, all right, it's fine. I thought he was coming from an appointment. And then I look up and I'm like, oh, you're here. So, you call, I'll come. I'm like, I love you.
That's awesome.
How you feeling?
I'm a little tired. I had to go travel a little bit on the weekend and teach some courses for like 8 hours a day, but I'm fine.
So we'll just kick off. So is this your second time on this? You were on the reps one once with Zach. Yeah. Have you been on D&D?
No.
No.
We've been saving it up.
Yeah. Well, this is a great opportunity.
This is perfect timing.
And then he texts me and he's like, "Oh, I'm going to be in town that weekend." I was like, "Fuck it, dude. Let's do something."
You got to have him come.
Yeah. No, he's coming.
You got it. This is perfect. Yeah. Derek will probably end up. I think Gunner's going to stay with me Thursday night, and then we're going into the city Friday. But
okay.
You can.
So I was going to book my flight, fly out Thursday, be there all day Friday, head back Monday or something like that.
Yeah, why don't you come stay with me Saturday and Sunday then?
Okay, yeah.
Stay with me. I'm probably going to stay in the city Friday night, but Saturday night, Sunday night, you come stay with me.
Okay.
I'm excited. So this is Kenny Santucci. You and I have been so much. I feel like we're always doing.
I literally sing your fucking praise.
I love you.
Hold on. So I had a
guy, proud of you.
I had a guy come into my gym who was like, I don't even know who the fuck he was, but he was there for what's his name's course, Mike Israel's course.
Oh yeah.
And this guy's like, dude, there's certain trainers that just can't get behind, blah blah. And he's like naming fucking. What's that guy?
I can't get behind.
Yeah, he's
hope
like,
he didn't say me.
Yeah, and
he said me.
Yeah, and I go,
wait, he can't get.
Yeah, and I was like, dude, that's my boy. He goes, I go, yeah. I go, when I tell you he's the fucking realest dude. He goes, he just seems like one of these guys. He was talking about Ben Bruno too. He's talking about fucking Jay. I'm like,
Jay who?
Perugia. I'm like, those are,
man, this guy's rough.
About all my fucking boys. And he goes, oh man, I'm so sorry. I go, listen.
What was he? I'm just curious.
He's a fucking nobody trainer from New York. He was like, he's just.
Well, what was the reason why he couldn't get behind?
He's saying
I'm curious.
He was saying that, like the online workouts and all that stuff. He's like, you got to be in person with people. You got to be on the floor. And I was like,
I get it.
I was like, listen. I go,
I get it.
If you're a part of the business side of things,
yeah.
I go, and you understand how to touch more people and get in there.
Yep.
I go, you can't just do in person.
No, and listen, I probably did. How much in person has he done?
I couldn't have seen this guy. I mean, he's probably 30, 31.
Yeah.
So he hasn't even been a trainer that long.
We've done 30 years of in person.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, I can understand where he's coming from if I didn't do in person, but the fact that I've probably given away more free sessions than he's ever done paid.
But that's why I was like, I go, listen, I go, if you ever met him, I go, he is the fucking real deal. I go in person. And I was like, you could have picked any other person. I would have just let you kind of talk about
I appreciate that.
I go,
thank you.
I go, dude, he's my.
I don't even take, to be honest, I was more curious. I'm not even taking offense to it because I think he's right to an extent, right? Like if you were to look at someone like me and I never did any one-on-one, then I would be like, you're wrong.
Well, I think that's what a lot of people see. And I was just having this conversation with somebody yesterday about how they only see the top of the mountain, right? They only see, he's done this, this, and this. They didn't see the fucking 20 years of bullshit.
25 years of BS. Yeah. And they didn't see, and Derek and I talk about it. They didn't see. I've been talking about this a lot lately because I want people to understand it wasn't all roses, but like Amex shutting down my credit cards, Con Ed shutting down my power when I'm at Drive. Like it was there were some dark, almost missing 37 payrolls. That's tough.
Now being at this point where it's like I've had multiple gyms, I've had fail, I've had shit win. I go, you don't get to where these guys are without failing 100 times. You know, it doesn't fucking happen. You know, and anybody who sees somebody with a ton of success, I'm like, the amount of shit they must have dealt with to get to that point is unfathomable.
Well, it was almost comforting for me when I was I had a group of mentors when I was in Drive and speaking to some pretty successful people who you would recognize their names, and to think that they were sleeping under desks at a certain point, or hearing Calvin Klein telling me that he was walking with his daughter on the beach thinking to himself, oh my God, I'm not going to have a business tomorrow. Yeah. Or Joe Horowitz, the founder of Tommy Hilfiger, who was literally like sleeping in his office. And when you hear this about people who are worth that much money, that to me is really inspiring. It's really, and you never want to hear anyone go through it, but when they end up rising and they end up doing something special with their career, then you're like, all right, cool, maybe this is the path.
There's an awesome documentary on the History Channel called The Men Who Made America.
Yeah.
And one of the episodes was on Rockefeller. And
Yeah.
how he put 3 times, he put everything he had on the line to make what he had. And then also, like, I was just reading a bunch of stories on Vince McMahon recently, because he just sold the WWE.
Did he sell it?
$9.3 billion. He bought it from his father in 1985 for
$1 million. I actually saw.
Fucking insane.
I saw that.
Yeah, you have to, and there, if you watch he has like a How I Built This or whatever, and the amount of times he had to put, like, the company was only worth like a couple $100,000 at the time when he was trying to do WrestleMania 3, and he was like putting all this money into it and took on money to make this happen, and it's now 9.3. I go, it doesn't become 1 million. It's not just this linear line. It's this.
I heard Jeff Bezos the other day. He was talking about Amazon, and he was talking about having to give away. He had to raise $1 million. Think about Jeff Bezos. I think it was 1995, and I think they said he raised $1 million and gave up 20% equity in Amazon. And he turned around and he was like, "Great investment for those people." Can you imagine 20%? But like, oh my God, like, imagine Jeff Bezos being like, we need $1 million. And he did the way I had to do it. He went to like, 15, 20 people at like, between 50 and 100 grand a pop. And like, that's typically what you do early on when you have connections, but you're like, all right, friends and family. Yeah, 100%. But so this is actually a perfect segue into our conversation, because this is your third.
Well, this is a third big one. I've done 3 before that as well.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, we did smaller ones at Solace that were just like in the basement, or like, we used both floors. We had a couple hundred people. It was like, they were kind of what I'd consider the pilots for like the first one that I had you come to in 2019. Then we got shut down during COVID. And then we did the one last year, which was awesome success. I mean, you were there. And then this will be like the biggest one so far, but they just keep growing. And I think the more people I explain it to, the better I even get at explaining it and showing people what it is. The more people are like, oh shit, this would be great to get involved with.
Right. I mean, but you have to be like, I've noticed a lot of people trying to start their own, like everyone now I feel like is starting to try and host their own event.
Yeah.
But there's like, and you can see it, you're a connector. Like that's what I can, like, you're a great coach and you're an incredible people person, but you're a connector. Like you are really, that's one of your strong suits. And I think the fact that people are coming in and they're flying in, not for the money, but because they love you. And because I think the reputation that you've built for yourself, what has been your vision since day one on this?
Yeah, I swear. I mean, it's always been about like, for instance, one of the people that I really wanted to help from day one was the guys who owned Fitaid. And they were, I had met Fitaid, yeah. I had met them early on. Aaron had spoke at the one in 2019 for me. He's one of the CEOs. And we had talked, and he's like, I want to try to break out of just the CrossFit market and get into this other market. And I said, well, New York City, I mean, if you want to make something cool, if you want to make something, we go to New York. Hey, that's where you want to launch most big products, right? Fashion Week and Comic-Con and all that shit. I was like, so I want to do like my fitness. I was like, so why don't we have an event in New York, like a fitness? Oh, I'm going to steal one of those.
See, this is how we do it on our podcast.
This our title sponsor.
Is that really?
Event. Yeah, Celsius.
I like the product. It's actually
it's actually a great product.
Yeah, it's actually a great product.
So what I wanted to do was do like a B2B, like, hey, have more businesses, have more gym owners, introduce them to Fitaid, get them in other gyms, help them make money. And then my friends who were have businesses and different online, workouts and stuff like that. I'm like, how do I introduce them to more clientele?
Mhm.
So at the beginning, it was just a way for everybody to kind of share what they have and what they're doing, and introduce my clients to the people that I was learning from. Right. So it's kind of just grown from there. And I truly believe, like, when I pitch it to people and I'm like, hey, listen, I go, if you have a new business or a small business, or you're launching a book, or you have a product that you want to get out there, I go, I'm trying to make this bigger, and you have a product that you want in front of more people. I go, let's work together. I truly believe it's like bringing people together in New York City under one roof. And it's funny because I had reached out to so many different gyms in the city, and we have Rumble coming, we have Lions Den Yoga, we have I just got off the phone with the guys from Lifetime Fitness. We have who else? Tone House. So all these other guys, when I'm like, hey, you guys want to come? Especially the people who've been there already, they're like, count us in.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I'm not charging them. And it's an opportunity for them to showcase what they do in front of an audience that might never step and foot, like Henzo Gracie. When I pitched it to them, they're like, wait, what the hell is this? And I was explaining to them, they're like,
we're in. It's just man hours for them too, and they just have to show up. But it'd be dumb not to do it.
30-40 minutes of your time, and it's an opportunity to get in front of people who, like, frankly, like, I do jujitsu, but it's like I know a ton of people would never step foot in a jujitsu gym.
Right.
So now it's like, if they see it in a different environment, if they're exposed to it with like friends of theirs, and it's not as like aggressive as it would be if you were in a regular gym, people will be like more inclined to try things. Same thing with Tone House and like even yoga. I'm not a big yogi, but there are people there who are like, oh, I'll do yoga in the morning, I'll run with Derek in the afternoon, and then I'll go do this lifting session. Like, that's what I want it to be. I want people to learn from the best people that I know, integrate themselves into these other gyms, because it's like you can't be the guy going 100% every day.
Well, that's the problem, Derek. I mean, think about it. I mean, part of your education early on was learning from some pretty incredible people, right? One being Charlie Francis, and not even knowing that was part of your marketing early on. I mean, when people, you got to admit it. I mean, I've used it too with certain people or certain, communities, certain certifications, whatever it is. But, when you're learning from people and you're networking in that environment, or Rob Panarello, right? Like you start becoming really friendly with these people. One of my really good friends now, I attribute to meeting at Strong New York last year.
Wow.
Gunnar Peterson.
Yeah.
I walked into the event. Gunnar and I have known each other. We both been in the industry probably combined, close to 60 years already. And
I'd say like 60 years.
Right, it has to be. I'm 25. He's like 35.
Yeah.
And we looked at each other from across the room, never had a conversation, and we just pointed at each other. And we got kind of choked up.
You guys are both great.
And we just grabbed each other, and we started hugging, and then we started having, it was bizarre. We started having a conversation where if you came over, you would have thought we knew each other for 20 years. And then the next thing you know, I'm in Nashville with him, staying with him and his family. His wife's on the phone with my wife, helping her out with something from a digital standpoint. We're meeting in the city the Friday before your event. That night, we're going to stay at a hotel together. We're all going to just kind of hang out, right? And think about that, like that networking aspect of it. And then we hosted an event at his space. And then the next, I meet Matt Wenning through him. Meet Andrew Locke.
Oh, you hadn't met Matt?
No, I never met Matt Wenning. And then Matt. He's a great guy. And then Matt and I became buddies, and we talk all the time now. So, oh my God, I'm in this 25 years. I didn't have access to something like Strong New York. When I was starting at 21, if the ticket was going to cost me $100, $200, whatever, what does it cost for the event?
$50 just to get in the event, and then $150 to.
What is that? That's a session rate.
Yeah.
Nothing.
Invest session rate. You can't invest 1 hour of your session rate or whatever you are charging, an hour and a half, whatever it is, to go be around like-minded people and open the doors for opportunity.
Be around the best. Like I just signed CT Fletcher's going to come. So I have CT Fletcher. Awesome. I have you guys. I have
Gabrielle Lyon.
Lyon. I have Dr. Lee.
Oh yeah, I know Dr. Lee. I was on a live with him for Lumen.
Dude, he's amazing.
Awesome. He's incredible.
Amazing. And there's so many great people. So even if you're remotely interested in fitness, just to go network and meet these people, like you and Gunnar were like running for office last year. It's
That was
like
so much
everybody
fun.
and their mothers coming up to them, trying to take pictures with them.
It was a good feeling because you also connect with people that you haven't seen in a while. But I'm telling you, there's never been an event that I haven't gone to where there has been, even like events that I've gone to and you pay, or times where I speak and you're shelling money out of your pocket, you're staying at a hotel or whatever it is, whether they reimburse you or not, that's another story. But like, I've always made a connection.
Yes.
I've always connected some dots, some piece of the, like, think about it, like Luca Hosever, right? Like I saw you out at Luca's event and I was like, oh, Kenny, you're at Luca's event. This was in,
I go to all the shit.
yeah, well, Lucas incredible. But that whole networking piece, like when I was at our buddy Ben Bruno, he just got married, and I'm sitting at a table with Gunnar. Ben comes to the table, Kelsey, Heenan, and Dennis, Luca, like we're all sitting at this table together, and I'm like, Ben came over, like, Ben, you called me on a train going up to Mike Boyle's probably 9 years ago. Hey, Don, it's Ben Bruno. And I'm like, Ben, oh my God, I was just reading an article about you on T Nation like last week. Next thing you know, Ben's in town at my club working out. Then Ben starts coming in every single, couple months working out a drive. Hey, Don, by the way, I want to introduce you to friends of mine. You mind if I bring them by? I go, no, what are their names? Well, their names are Dennis and Kelsey Heenan. I said, great, bring them by. I've never met them. They come by. The next thing you know, Kelsey and Den come up, I think a month later, to shoot content with me. A year later, they turn to me. Well, our buddy's in town. What's his name? Luca Hosever. Oh my God. Next thing you know, they're all introduced. Angela Gargano. All these people. Like, look at this picture. I'll show this picture here. This was the day after the Strong event last year.
Yeah, I remember.
We all rolled up and we're like, you guys want to come for a workout? Come on up, right? This is like the crew right here. And this was like, next thing you know, we're all sitting in there. We're having breakfast. We're networking. We decide to host an event at Luca's place. It's like, this is what it's about.
Yeah. And that's what I tell people, especially younger trainers who are like, oh, I want to break into the industry. I want to do this. I go, then go to more of this, right? That's where you're going to meet more people. And when we say like-minded people, it's like more people who are looking to network, more people who are looking to build their business. Like, that's who you want to be around to expand what you're doing. You're not going to just do it being on the floor. You're not just going to do it, trying to pick up more clients. You're not just going to do it putting up fucking content on Instagram.
No.
You have to mingle with people. And even if you're putting up content, these are the people you want in your video, because then they legitimize you.
And you're always connected, even with some young coach. I mean, I'm always impressed. I'm always meeting some coach that kind of comes up to me. And Derek, I want to get your opinion on this also, but they might be introducing themselves in a certain way, shaking your hand. They might come off very authentic. The next thing you know what? You can't meet everyone, but you are meeting that individual for coffee.
Yeah.
The next thing you know, oh, this guy lives in Chicago. This client's calling me. He's a Chicago trainer. Let me reach out to this person. I'm even forgetting their name. I'm typing in Chicago trainer into my phone, and then all the names will come up. I'm like, oh, that's his name. His name is Rick. Rick, Don Saladino, got so in this area. How far are you? I'm only 15 minutes. And it's like you're making connections. I mean, your career had to be built on this in a way, right? I mean,
oh yeah, think of just by being in New York City and having to stay in Soho, and then I go over to your gym, and then all of the, stuff that's come out of that, just that meeting, right, has been phenomenal. And spending time in New York City, probably would have never met Kenny, right? And now it's a destination for me where it's like, okay, I can go there, I can go hang out at a bunch of different places and feel pretty at home. We had a guy, because of you, there's a guy from Mexico who flew up to Canada to go drive 4 hours inland to go to my course, and he is friends with Jordan Shallow, right? But the guy flies from Mexico. Like, okay, great. He just calls me up, hey, I'm coming up. And I'm like, oh, okay. So there's certainly this 5 or 6 degrees of separation that are pretty critical for all of our careers.
Everyone's got, there's even the best people in the industry now, you're like Jordan Shallow. Like, Jordan could call me tomorrow and say, hey man, I need to stay at your home with your family for the next month. And my wife would be like, no problem.
Yeah.
Like think about the power of that. Like, that's what type of person Jordan is. And he's one of the brighter minds.
How did you meet him?
Ben Pekulski.
Okay. So I was going to go up to fucking his courses last weekend, but I ended up having to do shit at home. But I was going to go up to his course, and I was like, I got to I was literally like, this is going to be such a nightmare of a trip because I got to fly to Canada and then drive an hour and a half out into the middle of fucking nowhere. But I like him a lot. We were bullshitting on Instagram. I've never met him before, but
Jordan?
No.
Oh, Ben.
No, you know how I met Jordan?
No, you know Jordan.
I met Jordan because I started following on Instagram, and I asked him to speak at one of the first strongs that I had in the basement of. He only had like 20,000 followers.
He probably did it too. He's like,
Comes down, he goes, wait, what do you? So he called Steffi Cohen and was like, hey, who the fuck is this guy and why does he want me to come to his gym? And he's like, well, what do you want me to talk about? This was before he was doing the course and stuff.
Right.
And I go, dude, all this shit you're saying on your Instagram, put it into like an hour-long presentation.
Yeah.
He came out after that. Killed it.
Yeah.
Started blowing the fuck up.
Yeah.
And he actually mentioned that on a podcast that somebody sent me. They were like, yo, Jordan Shell is singing your praises about how you called him.
Jordan was living in a car like 10 years ago. Like I met Jordan. Jordan's one of my favorite success stories. And I gotta be honest, he's one of my favorite people. Like I look at Jordan like a younger brother that's smarter than I am. It's like one of those
so
big,
smart.
He's so intelligent. But I met Jordan through Ben Pekulski. It was Ben's 40th birthday. And he was in town and he called me up. He's like, we're having a 40th birthday dinner at Churrascaria, Plataforma, the Brazilian place. Would you come down? I said, yeah, I'd love to, and I stopped down and I sit at a table and I'm sitting next to this guy in a flannel shirt. And he's got like the big beard and kind of sitting there. And I'm like,
ripping at him.
Yeah, I'm like, who's this guy? Like, who is it? And we start talking for like 2 hours. We're just the entire dinner. Everyone else is talking. We're just like, da. And I'm like, oh my God, I love this guy.
Yeah.
And
he's great. He's so real.
And I think the next day he was at Drive working out, literally. And then we just became like boys. And then the thing about Shallow is he was flying. I mean, he's probably travels to 60 different countries in a year, literally. So the next thing you know, we become so tight. I'm like, where's your mailing address? He's like, well, kind of don't really have one. I'm like, we'll make it Drive. So the next thing packages are showing up to Drive. It's just, you want to help each other out. And then he stayed with my family, I mean, a dozen plus times. I mean, he's family. I
actually told Pekulski, I was like, I didn't make it up to your place. I was like, but I'll happily give you my place to come host something in New York.
Oh yeah, he's and it's incredible the transition he's made in his business. I mean, this was an Olympia competitor that's, I think made a complete 180.
Yeah, I love him.
So dive into strong more. I want to talk about. So every year you put together a dream team. Talk to us about this a little bit.
Yeah, every year I try to tighten it up and try to make it like, all right, what do I want this to feel like? I wanted it to be similar to like an Arnold or like an LA Fit Expo or something like that, but kind of be more New York centric. So I wanted the big studios in New York to do 20, 30-minute classes where they could be like, hey, we're in New York. Next time you're here, you can come take our class. And this is our introduction to what New York City fitness is, right? Because it's not just bodybuilding. I want that bodybuilding world there. I want the yoga world. I want the Pilates world. So I want a little bit of everything. Mm-hmm. So we'll have everything from jujitsu to dancing, right? Last year we had an African dance class. We had a Pilates class. We had a step class. We had boxing class. We'll have all that stuff again. And then we'll also have 2 areas where you could be lifting. There's going to be a mat where we're going to have kids classes. So we'll do
that's cool.
Yeah. We'll have kids gymnastics. We'll have a kids jiu-jitsu class. We're going to probably have like a kids like running class and stuff. I was even going to see if the boss wanted to even run something in there.
Tell me what to do. Tell me what to do. I'll do it.
And then on the main stage, I want it to be quicker, kind of right to the point with like individuals. And then we'll have a couple panels, but the individual talks will be more like TED Talks, like 10, 15-minute bangers where it's like somebody goes up there, they're like, hey, this is what I do. If you want more information, buy my book, because we'll have a bookseller there as well.
Sure.
If you want more information, check out my YouTube. If you want more information, follow me on social media, whatever it is. But like, I want to get as many people up there sharing what they do, so more people could be like, and people get lost in these events, right? They're like, oh, I want to go do this, I want to do that. So I want them to.
And they never really have. It's funny because you go to these events, and especially when they have different speakers at different times, you're like, oh man, I want to see this person, but I'm going to be missing this one as well.
Yeah. So I want them to be like quicker, kind of more informative, like right to the point, dial in what they do. So we have Gabrielle talking about obviously all her stuff, nutrition and muscle and everything like that. Then we have a neuroscientist, Have you met that woman, Louisa, yet?
Oh yeah, I was on her podcast.
She's awesome.
Louisa Nicole?
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
So I want her to talk more
she's
about
fantastic.
She's amazing.
Yeah,
she's been to the gym a couple of times.
Yeah, she's got she's Greek, right?
Yeah,
she's Greek. Yeah. She's and actually I do remember that now because I'm a quarter Greek. So we had that conversation. But she's awesome. I mean, super intelligent. Yeah, she's also like young into the business and she's building it up.
And she as soon as I told her about it, she's like, I want it.
Yeah.
You know, so I was so happy when when Derek hit me up and he's like, I'm going to be in town. I go, dude, let's do something. Let's get you there doing.
Derek, what are you going to do?
Well, we're going to basically teach people how to run like from the ground up. And just, everybody thinks it's kind of an intuitive thing, but there are some things you can really work on in small spaces or wherever. And, I want to do some technology things. Like I've been working with one of the force plate companies and just showing people if you do certain drills, they can elicit different forces and you can get these adaptations that carry over into whatever. We had this weekend, we had ultra marathoners like show up to my course and they're like, oh, wow, I can do all those things, right? Rather than just going for a 5-hour run, there's other things you can do. So yeah, just introduce all that stuff.
And this is basically the breakdown of it, right? I've taken Derek's course twice. Every time I've learned something new.
100%.
And I was there for 2 days for what, 6-7 hours each day?
Yep, at least.
And I'm still like, well, I would go take it again because I feel like there's stuff I want to remember, I want to keep doing, but I'm going to have Derek do a half hour. You're going to just get a taste of what he's doing. You want to deep dive into it. So for him, it's like, it'd be great to have 100 people in it. And then 20 of those people are like, well, next time he's in New York, I'm going to take his course. Right. Because if you'd be an idiot not to. And I've learned so much from him. I thought I knew a lot about running and just the little simple ways that he breaks down mechanics and how to teach people mechanics. The amount of people I've gotten to run better because of the stuff that I learned from Derek, I'm like, more people need to know this.
Oh, it's amazing the amount of people I've got to feel better.
Yeah.
Because of the way that I've gotten the run because of this guy. And I've been going to Derek's courses now for years. I mean, we met because Derek had a celebrity client in town and Derek was in town for I think what 6 weeks.
Yeah, at least long time.
But the next thing you know, Derek, and I'm not exaggerating, Derek was teaching daily at the club. And I'm turning around and I'm looking at like 2-3 o'clock. All the trainers are lined up and listening to Derek. I'm over there listening to Derek.
Yeah.
And he's doing it every day and not getting paid for it. And the next thing you know, him and I became tight. We're like, you want to start a podcast together? We're like, let's do it.
Yeah.
And now, we've been doing this now. We're probably 140 episodes.
Yeah, we're over 150. We're over 150. And yeah, that was like 2017. It's been a while.
Yeah, it's 6 years.
But there's so many young trainers in New York who think they've got it figured out. Right. And if they haven't taken your course yet,
no, they need it.
It's insanity to me.
No, they have to have it.
I fell in love with it. The first time I did it, I was like, this is fucking great. I'm trying to film as much shit as I can. I refer back to the videos that you did. And for anybody in the industry and even people outside the industry, I have probably 10 runners that I have doing the marathon and I teach them all that stuff. Like you said, everybody thinks it's intuitive. Oh, I have a body, I have legs, I could go run. And I'm like, not necessarily. You're going to get more fucked up running than you will in a gym.
Right.
If you're not.
Right.
Right.
Remember that whole trend of me for a period of time, everyone's like, running's bad for you. And I'm like, what are you talking about? Like, it's just, this whole industry, everything kind of, it's like, what's the new trend now? But, running's back in now, kids.
Yeah. The amount of people who Chicago Marathon, New York City Marathon, triathlons, the amount of people who do it. And then they don't understand the way you even talk about injuries and stuff, the way people start to feel in their shins and their knees and their hips. Everybody's like, I'm broken, I'm done, I can never run again. It's like, not necessarily.
Right.
I think you just need to go back to the basics, right? And go through the drills and learn how to do it again and reinforce, a lot of the stuff that you talk about. I loved it.
So Strong is mainly for coaches, but like you did have some consumers show up who are just fitness enthusiasts, right?
Well, it's mainly it's like anything else, right? Like you go to the Food and Wine Festival and most of the people who go there are restaurateurs and people who work in the industry, but I go every year because I love it. It's like, you want to go try new food. You want to see what else is out there. It's just a fun day for everybody else. They're not consuming it the same way we would, right? Like, so if we go to help a fitness event or, an educational event, we're kind of taking notes and being like, oh, I want to use that. I want to go look into his course. That's for like the diehards, right? It's the same thing with like comic, right? I'm not going trading comic books and like buying fucking collectibles. I just like going around looking at it, checking it out. This weekend's the New York City Coffee Festival. So it'll be like every coffee shop in New York sizing each other up, seeing what other people are doing. I'm going to go just try fucking coffee, hang out, eat some donuts maybe, So it's just like, it's just a chance to experience like what those people in that industry are diehards about. But this year we'll have a DJ. We're going to have, classes all day long. We have tons of food. We're going to be doing 2 free workouts outside. Do you know Rudy Reyes? Have you ever met him?
No, but I know the name.
Okay, so he's on that show Special Forces.
Yeah.
So he's been a buddy of mine. I met him at Summer Strong like 4 or 5 years ago. I had him speak at one of the events a couple of years ago. But he's one of the Marine Recon.
Oh, that's awesome.
He's awesome. So I'm going to have him do a workout outside with people and put them through like what he would do, put people through on the show and like with military training. And then we're going to do a run with Garmin. So Garmin, we got Garmin involved, and they're going to give a bunch of watches away. And they want people to try different workouts and see how it, how the Garmin picks up.
Very cool. I think that's also something we didn't talk about that yet. It was last year. I remember coming in and seeing a couple of coaches coach.
Yeah.
And for me, as like a coach, like I love watching coaches coach. I love watching them at their craft and seeing, what are things that people are really attracted to. Like last year, I remember sitting there for probably 20, 25 minutes watching Jacqueline Casey.
I was just going to say, she's
phenomenal coach. And I was sitting there and I was just like, actually became a fan. I started walking around the floor with it because I got to know her really well. And just, how do you not love Jacqueline Casey, right? So I'm running around the floor and I'm filming her. And the next thing you know, we became like really good friends, but loved her coaching style, loved her delivery. And she kind of owns her process. That's her process, right? Like if someone else was to take that and be as aggressive as she was, like they'd probably scare the shit out of everyone. But
not
like
everybody could deliver.
Not everyone can deliver the way Jacqueline, but Jacqueline does it in a way where you watch her, she's aggressive, she's loud, but you're like, wait a second, I want to go. Yeah, I want to go have dinner with her. Like, I just want to have a conversation with her. And that to me is like what's really special. And I think as coaches, sometimes, we'll see something that someone else is doing and say, well, I have to do that because it works for them. And you're like, no. Like if I ever came into the gym and started yelling and screaming at people, like I'd have a big problem.
Yeah, I can't pull off what you. I tell people, I go, if you want to see mastery at it, like teaching at its best when it comes to like group training, I'm like, she's one of the best. I mean, for other trainers to like look at her, I mean, I haven't met anybody in our world that hasn't been like, no, she's legit.
Oh no, from a group training,
group
phenomenal. She's one of the best I've seen, hands down. So that to me is fun because I think the group of people that you attract, again, I was talking about you as a connector, is that there's not a lot of egos in there in the sense of like everyone shows up and we're like kind of rooting for each other. Like Dr. Gabrielle Lyons, like she's like a sister to me. Like she's one of my closest.
You guys do a ton of stuff.
We do a ton of stuff together, but she even messaged my wife and I yesterday, and she's like, "Hey, they're putting a billboard up for me in a few weeks."
Yeah,
I'm like, date and time.
Yeah,
I was like, I will.
Same thing.
Yeah, I will. Like 100%. Yeah, 100%. We'll all be there to show support. But that's like you start. Someone like that has your back.
Yeah. Well, you want it, but it's crazy to me when people don't want to see. Not even just my friends. Obviously, you want your friends to win. But like people you work with, you network with, why wouldn't you want to see them win?
Right.
Like I want to put my friends on the company Fuel Hunt.
What's it called?
Fuel Hunt.
Fuel Hunt.
They sponsor a lot of like MMA guys.
Okay.
So I had met the guy who owns the company years ago at a CrossFit Games.
Okay.
We just kind of hit it off. I started buying the clothing. I didn't even know it was his shit. He's like, "Oh man, glad to see you're wearing my stuff." I go, "I didn't even know this was your company."
That's crazy.
It's insane. Now, every time I do, like they were there last year at the event, they're going to be there this year. And he's like, "Hey, I'm going to bring some athletes, blah, blah, blah." He's like, "I just want to see you win." I was like, "Dude, I want you there because I want more people to learn about your stuff."
Right.
He's good buddies with Bedros.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Who, by the way, I got on a phone call with a couple of months ago because of Dr. Gabrielle Lyons.
No shit.
It's just like you start connecting these dots. And that's the one thing I really urge young coaches to do. I mean, I think a lot of coaches early on, they think and they should learn, educate yourself on your craft. Like you want to become the best possible coach. But at a certain point, you start like staying in a specific lane where the reality is that you're not really going to grow as a person and a business person if you keep taking level, 76 of this course. It's like at a certain point, you got to start branching out. You got to start taking public speaking courses. You got to start connecting with people like Kenny, because they may be able to put you on a panel one day. And when you get on your first panel, you know it as well as I am. I don't care how experienced you think you are. The heart's going a little bit, right? Like you are, and that's normal. And it's good to do that, but you need those reps. You need to do that over and over, because it's going to take years and years and years till you get comfortable. Maybe one day you start doing TV. It's like these things open up for you.
Well, even for me, like I've been in the industry for almost 15 years now, and meeting you, and you just turned me on to so many people and helped me out so much. And I tell everybody, I was like, I don't know where the strength club would have been. It's been 2 years. But at the same time, you helped me a ton.
But you also have to understand that, like, Kenny made me look good, right? So like I'm getting phone calls of like, hey, I'd like to work with you, and I'm like, I'm not in the city anymore, but I have another solution. And it's like, then I have 3-4 people in the city that I love sending people to, and Kenny's top of that list. And granted, sometimes your club's on 30th Street, 28th Street, sorry. And they might be all the way downtown. It's not convenient. So you got to have an arsenal of people. But I think when I get a phone call or I talk to Liam Schreiber and he's like, oh, that guy's great. And I'm like, of course he's great. I'm not going to send you to some dipshit. But it makes me feel good.
Yes. And I've learned from that too, because when I was a younger trainer, I'm like, oh, I got to try to keep all my clients and stuff. And there's a lot of times where I'm like, you live downtown now? It's probably easier for you to go work with this person. Or, oh, I moved to Jersey or Long Island. All right, go work with this person, because I want to put my friends on. I want them to, kind of grow.
Who has that level of humility also? It's probably one of the reasons why I love this guy would be, again, a Ben Bruno or a Luca or a Kelsey. And a lot of times we have, Lucas had people in Seattle that have been part of my challenge community. And I'm like, you need to work out at a gym. And you need to go to Lucas' gym. Or Ben's called me up with even some of his celeb clients, or vice versa. And we're passing people off. And there's this immediate trust now, because our clients know that we're not going to stick them with someone that is, same with you, Derek, right? I mean, how many times have we pass people to each other, but that's not built overnight. And it's a turn off sometimes when you get a coach contact, well, if you need help with anyone, let me know. I'm like, dude, it's not that I don't want to spread the wealth and hand clients out to people, but like, you got to trust someone. You got to, it really is, because then you look bad, right?
And Luca's helped me out a ton too.
Oh, he's incredible.
Yeah, and anytime I do a course, I'm like, listen, I'm in New York. If you ever need to go to Seattle or you want to go to the West Coast and teach a course, I'm like, this guy's already dialed in.
Yeah,
he's got the community of people who are looking to learn. He has that network. Like, he's already that guy.
Luca's also one of the few people that have done it on both ends, right? To be able to do it in order and do it digitally and have that work ethic and have that actual fight that day and day. He's a savage. I mean, there's not too many coaches out there that I've met that are going to put in the hours and the work and honestly get kicked in the face. Like someone like, Luca went through. He went through his ups and downs.
He's done it and like, I remember just watching his social media, and he's just putting up video after video after video, and it's not going anywhere. And then boom.
Yeah.
But people will be like, oh, this guy's, who it's like, no, he's been grinding for years.
They don't see it. Everyone sees, in the moment where you're at. They don't see, they don't see when you open Strength Club, or they don't see when you were at Solace, or they don't see, ups and downs, highs and lows. Derek, you too, right? I mean, was it always gravy for you? I mean, was it from Charlie?
No. I was thinking like one of the first like sports jobs I got was working with the Canadian men's field hockey team. I didn't even know guys played field hockey, right? And so downtown Vancouver, next to Chinatown, there's like syringes everywhere that you got to get out of the way so the players don't get poked. There's like Chinese food odor coming in. There's homeless people trying to cut the turf up so they can have somewhere to sleep. And I'm just like, whoa, oh God, what am I doing? I'm doing this like how many times a week? But I mean, that's what you got to do, right? So yeah, we've all been there.
What about now? Are you still continue your education all the time? I mean, you've been in the industry now how many years? Decades already.
Since like the late 90s, right? Like,
so you're probably around where I am, but like we both still continue our education. We're always trying to get better, and we're always trying to learn.
Yeah, and it might not be in exactly what we're doing, but one thing for me is like, I got to get up on all the tech now. Like, what's the new technology, because it's a different language. And you got to force yourself, right? So I'm doing that. I bought a Moxie monitor, and I'm doing like blood flow analysis and all that for all the stuff that I do. So, but yeah, you got to force yourself, and you got to put yourself in situations. So even just speaking to a broad fitness general population audience, I can't do the same talk that I do at the NFL Combine. I got to do something a little different that fits their needs, right? So it makes you think, it makes you draw on other resources as well. So yeah, it's very, and even the thing you said about referring people is such a difficult thing. Like, you have to have that trust and confidence. And if I refer, the actor that I brought to Drive, I refer him to you, exactly how he operates and stuff like that, and he doesn't like people talking to him too much, and you have to refer him to a person with that experience and awareness, right? Because if you don't,
that's where the great coaches are, though, right? Like, because everyone out there claims to be smarter than the next person. The great coaches are the ones that I feel like can adapt instantaneously. They'll see the client walk in and they'll go, oh shit.
Yeah.
It's gonna, and you know what I'm talking about.
You know how to handle that person.
You know what I'm talking about. It's happened to you this week. And you see a client walking in, you see the expression on their face, and you're like, all right, this is gonna be interesting, right? Like, we're gonna have to talk this person off the ledge. And I think those are the coaches that get excited, the coaches that I think start really believing. Look, we become friends with our clients, but I think when you go in with that focus that this is my friend, I think you're missing the target here. I think you got to understand that you are replaceable. As a coach, we all are. And if at one point, if I overstep, or if I don't deliver, if I'm not giving them what they need, I should be replaced.
Listen, I've been doing this a long time, and sometimes I have to check myself and be like, all right, I'm getting too comfortable with this person. I need to make sure I'm giving them, what they're paying for first. I get pissed at myself if I'm like not delivering the way I should.
That's the signs of a good coach, right? I mean, I think it's normal to turn around, and it's tough sometimes because you'll have clients that come in, Derek, you know what I'm talking about. Like, they might be really lazy and they don't want to be there, and they're, it's like, okay, well, we're going to go do this now. I don't want to. You're like, are we really having this conversation right now? Well, then you got to come up with compromises. It's happened to every great coach out there, hasn't it?
Yeah. And with the best athlete that you could think of, who you think switched on and loves working out, and you're like, okay, so now where do we go from here? You have to, you're working, your brain's turning over, trying to figure out a way to connect and make it work out, right? So we've all been there.
It's like, you two know better than I do. It's like everybody thinks celebrities are so driven, and that they're like in the gym. Like, you always see these videos of like different celebrities, like, oh, he's hitting the gym hard. They're most of the time the ones who want to do the least.
Sometimes. I mean, and it's true. I mean, if you think about it, we're not saying all of them, but like we have, I've encountered a couple of them where they're coming in. It's not their job. Their job was never to train in the past. Their job was to act. Now they have a role where they have to start training. And I feel like the good actors, they're the ones that understand that, no, I've got to treat this like a job. And so when I'm talking about a Ryan Reynolds or someone like that, they have a role to get ready for, and they're like, boom, it's time to get ready. They're the exception. But I've worked with plenty of people that come in and they're like, all right, what is this? And I'm like, all right, this is called a dumbbell. This is like, this is a barbell. And you're literally having that conversation with them because they've never even stepped foot in the gym. And it does happen.
And you have to think about it, right? Our whole world revolves around training and this stuff. This is like a sub level of what they do. They're like, no, my craft is acting, or my craft is singing. Like, that's what I'm more focused on. This is just like part of something that supports that, so they're not as focused on that. So you have to like give it to them. I always try to make it as interesting as possible and help them fall in love with it, rather than just like kind of do it for the sake of doing it.
Well, that's one thing he's done a tremendous job of that community aspect there.
But the great thing is, you two guys are interesting people. Like, it's not like you're talking about fitness all the time and that's the only thing you know. Like, we could talk about history, we could talk about culture, we could talk about really. And then if you are working with an actor, maybe you should know something about movies or different actors or different types of acting. Like, and that's I think when I started working with that guy, Don, like 2006. I mean, he opened up a whole sort of dialogue in terms of like, oh, okay, which actors do you like? Why do you like them? And I'm just like, oh shit, I don't know. I hadn't really thought about that. So now I have to develop that side of my brain so that I can be interesting to him, or, I just find it interesting that you can't just be so focused on the training. It's not, that's the easy part.
Yeah, and I think that now that health and wellness has expanded so much, you have to expand you're doing cold plunging and sauna every day.
Yeah, do them all the time.
I haven't had a client in the last 6 months not ask me, but should I sauna and cold plunge? And you have to know the nuances and understand why you're doing it, and then do it yourself so you can explain to them about it.
Right. Right. So, it's sometimes people get a little carried away with this stuff also, and they think that's going to replace everything else.
Yeah, they're like, I could do this instead of training.
Yeah, or I could do this instead of sleeping. It's just, it's for me, I could do that all in under 30 minutes.
Yeah,
it's quick. I can turn around, take a 20-minute sauna or a 15-minute sauna. I take a 3 to 5 minute plunge. Think about it, that's 20 minutes right there. So
that's relaxing. I love it.
Yeah, I love it.
I'm so jealous of this little setup you got out here.
It's getting there. Once we do the permanent finish on everything, we'll have a permanent little platform out there. And but
did you come to the city the other day?
Yeah, so I came to the plunge event. Were you there?
I went at night. They had me at the night.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, and then somebody's like, they were like, oh yeah, we had Don Cellucor here today. I said, what? I was like, he was here?
Yeah, it was crazy. So I went, so Heather Morris, who is part of the PR company, she's one of the partners there. She's the one who I met through Zach Ziegler, who's the editor-in-chief of Muscle and Fitness. And he's a really good friend. He'd be a good, did you speak to Zach about Strong? Okay, so I'm on the phone with Zach every day, and I'll be at Olympia.
You guys used to have this show, right?
Yeah, but
I'm gonna try to make it to Olympia. Are you going?
Yeah, I just booked my flight today.
Okay.
I'll be there for 2 days. Again, this is great networking. People are like, well, why would I go down? Well, hold on. He starts, hey, Don, Zach, oh my God. And the next thing you know, everyone's kind of doing something together. I thought he was going to back in the car. I was like, no. It really is a lost art. I think this networking piece. And I used to hate saying it because I used to think of networking back in the 80s is going out for drinks and, meeting and schmoozing with clients. And now it's no, in the training world, you got to be successful. It's really being in it is really, I think it's a really important thing.
Yeah, I think in any industry, it's so good to network and meet people. I think just like you said, it's a lost art. People don't communicate as much as they used to.
Right. And plus trainers, Derek, I think they get really in the habit of going off doing their sessions, or I think the virtual world's even worse because most people in my situation would sit in their facility and just work in the computer all day. And, then what happens? You're not you know what? You can tell your buddy, I still train clients. I've seen,
that big guy.
John Albuquerque was in here the other day, and I do that for free. Fortunately, I'm able to do some stuff, on my time. But, even I'll see Ryan and Blake tomorrow, and I'll see, Krasinski on Thursday. And there's people I like to stay connected with because it's important. I think people who are online now are purely online. I think you still got to keep your hand on the pulse. Mm-hmm. You still got to go. I'm excited for Strong because I'm excited to listen.
Yeah. I'm
excited to listen. Think about that. It's
and for me, it's I get goosebumps just thinking about even last year, just having you and Gabriella there. I'm on stage with
Gunnar. Yeah, that was awesome.
There's all these trainers and family members and friends and stuff in the audience. I'm like, this is so cool. There were probably, when you guys spoke, there was probably 200 people in there.
It was special. It was special to see, but it was also pretty impressive how you pulled it off because I understand how hard it is to put together something and to do it in New York City. Tom Plummer, I don't know if you know who Tom Plummer is. He was runs a public speaking school and worked for Perform Better for years. He was a consultant that helped me out years ago when we were in a tough time. And he said, listen, running the gym business is one thing. Running the gym business in New York City is something completely different.
I tell everybody that.
And he would come into the city and be like, rules don't apply to you. He used to say that. Everything that he was teaching, I'd be like, you said this. He's like, rules don't apply to you. It's New York City.
It's a different animal.
It's a different animal. And there's so much competition. Real estate is so expensive. Landlords, it's not to knock anyone else, but if you're off in, an area in the country somewhere else and you're down some side street and you have some warehouse that's costing you $5 a foot, rent of my space the last year was 750,000 just for rent. I mean, my overhead was $2 million just that year to keep the lights on.
I remember when I first walked in there, when I came and mentioned,
yeah,
and I was like, holy fuck, this must be a fortune.
Yeah, fortune.
But it was such an impressive space. It's a beautiful space. And like, if that was in, let's say, Miami, like, I mean, not to take anything away from Mark, but his spaces are beautiful down in Miami. I go, but it's probably half the price of what you were paying in
Miami's getting expensive though, isn't it?
It's getting expensive now, but like back then, like when
Yeah.
you first opened up,
Yeah, it was
you know,
probably
he had like chandeliers and shit in there. I'm like, those
he's done
look
an impressive
expensive.
job too.
Yeah.
I love listening to his stories on how he was telling that story about how he was in the parking lot with one of his investors, like begging them. And I was like, I'm listening to, he was begging his investor to like keep the lights on. And I remember listening to him talk and I was sick. I had like acid reflux coming down my throat because I was like, oh my God, because I did the same thing. I had the same conversation. I remember the tone. I remember the feeling. I remember thinking that, how am I going to go on if I didn't have this spot? And I remember what a sick feeling it was, but I had to go through that. You had to go through, and like even early on, like when you went into it, I remember looking at you being like, dude, go get it, man. Like it's not going to be easy, but make it happen. To see that what you've created, no storefront either. No one knows you exist there. Sixth floor, what are you? Eighth floor?
Fifth floor.
Fifth floor. And you don't like, you're outside, you don't know that his spot's in there. And it's an incredible facility with an incredible culture. You've got a great team working for you. You can see all the coaches that you're bringing in. They're all top notch. And you can tell these are not people who are like, oh, they're in this because they want to be in fitness. And I think that's important also.
Yeah, I always say, I try not to hire anybody who moonlights as a trainer. I'd rather have real trainers, not like, oh, I'm an actor, but I train on the side.
Yeah, that's always been a good rule.
Do you find it hard to find good people?
100%, especially in the city where like everyone thinks they're the best, right? And it's in reality, right? How many good trainers actually are there, right? And when I meet trainers who are like, I don't like to work at night, I don't want to work too early in the morning, I want my weekends off, and you're like, what the fuck are you talking about? Doesn't work.
The good news is that I think it's going to become less competitive because all you have to do as a coach is come in and say yes.
Yeah.
Like that was my line, like, 10 p.m. Yes.
Yeah.
Rick at 3:45 in the morning. Yes. Like I wouldn't say no because I believed every person I got in front of was an opportunity.
I say that to everybody. And I was like, anybody who gets that or says that, I'm like, well, they're going to be successful because the more people when people are like, why are you doing this for free? Or why are you doing that for free? I was like, because the more eyeballs I'm in front of, the more I have an opportunity to grow.
And if you're trying to build your business, and let's say you go give 10 free sessions away and you get 3 signups. Well, yeah, that's 7 people. You can look at it, well, 7 people. I just wasted 7 hours. I'm like, no, you just picked up 3. That might be multiplied into 3 sessions a week.
Yeah. And think about it, right? Like think about like the 1 or 2 people who really like turn your career around or turn your life around.
I had my space built from a client that I worked with, right?
One guy,
And I'm sure you've had investors. Oh my God. Had people.
1 or 2 people who like really like just changed the way I operated or helped me with. I had a guy who basically did all the tiling in my gym. A guy like worked with a couple times. And he's like, oh, don't worry, I'll send you all the tile. And it's like saved me tens of thousands of dollars.
God, that's incredible.
Yeah. So
I'll never forget. A coach came to me years ago when I had Drive Open. So it was probably like 2019. And he's like, I charge $600 an hour. Like it was like one of those. And I'm like, wow, it's a lot of money. And I'm like, how many sessions are you doing a week at that? And he was like 4. And I was like, what are you doing the other 36 hours or whatever it is in training worlds? Who knows what you're working? And he's like, not much. And I'm like, why don't you cut your session down by like a third, go to like $200 an hour? Because why would I work more and make less? I'm like, because of opportunity.
Yeah.
Like you don't like, how about referrals? How about the fact that these 4 sessions that you're doing the week, someone sprains their ankle and you're down to 2 sessions. It's like, what are you doing? Like, I don't really understand it. It is this mindset nowadays. And I tell my kids this, I'm like, listen, there's 2 things I want you to think about. They're now 16 and soon to be 15. I said, you're both good people. Continue to be good people. Always be good people and treat people the way you want to be treated. Work your ass off. I say, if you can do that, like, you're going to be 90% of the way there already, you know?
I heard this TikTok, somebody had sent it to me, like, and it was these younger kids just all agreeing on, they're like, no longer is it your parent, like, talking about people our age, no longer is it your parents' idea of like work harder because you're never going to get ahead. And I'm like, that's the exact opposite, because anybody who's successful has to bust they're saying like that idea of like grind, work your ass off.
Don't do it. Is that what they're saying?
They're saying don't do that and try to find this like
angle.
Yeah. This or this easy. And I'm like,
but think about what's that going to do to the people who actually work hard now? So now, like back in like my family, like they were immigrants. My great grandparents came from Italy. It's like my grandparents, their first language was Greek and Italian. It's their whole, my grandfather was going to a fruit stand working for his father at 3:30 in the morning before school, falling asleep in school. The teacher wouldn't bother him because she knew he was working, and then had to go after and work in the evening and then do homework. And it was like, back then I felt like everyone was that American dream. It was like, work your ass off, work your ass off. Now I'm hearing this and I'm sad, but I'm also like, wait a second, does that mean there's more opportunity for my kids if they come in with a good mindset? Or is there more opportunity now for you because you're like, F that, I'm going to open an hour early because this person wants to train 5 days a week?
Well, it's so simple. It's like, I haven't heard one success story where somebody's like, it wasn't really that hard, I just did this. Like, have you ever heard that story?
No.
Like, oh, it was real easy, I just, but like they see these, like the one person or the two people that put up an OnlyFans or something and made a bunch of money, but it's like those people are miserable. They hate themselves. They stop doing it.
Right.
It's the people who are like, hey, I busted my ass to get here and now I can enjoy it. And even still, like I don't know too many people that I've worked with who are, because of you, I've got very wealthy clients, and I have a couple of wealthy clients who are like, I'm still grinding. I'm still pushing.
Yeah.
Even the people who are super successful, it doesn't stop there. You got to keep working. That's what
you turn it off. Yeah. Is there in the Strong New York Expo, is there an aspect of business where you can tell these stories? And
somebody had reached out to me about
that. Would be fun, by the way. If you had a little panel of like questions to like, well, talk about it right now.
I think having that fireside chat with you and
that'd be fun.
Like just work ethic and business.
Gunner's so real about that. Gunner's also like, Gunner's about as successful as they come when it comes down to what a diverse group of people he's worked with. And I also think, like, excuse my language, but like the set of balls he had to have to just be like, oh, I'm going to leave LA and everything I've known for the last 30 years and just move my whole business to Tennessee.
And what is he, 60, 61?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And his facility is sick, and he's developing a new business now. Like, he has that level of confidence where he's like, all right, I'm going to do this. So he's the perfect example of someone who's like, all right, I can start over at any point and I'm going to be fine.
And think about how many people at 30 or 35, 40 years old would be like, oh my God, I got to start over again. Here he is. Like,
they're panicked. It's
like,
I how many times, I mean, even when you left facilities that you worked at and you went to a new facility, you had to start a new book. Or anytime I had a new trainer that came in, I ended up passing off 3/4 of my book to them because I was like, I want them busy and then I'm rebuilding. And it's like, you got to trust your ability that you're good.
Even during COVID, it's like, I opened Strength Club, 2 years ago now, 2 years since October 1st. And I had to.
Was that 2021?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
And that's a gutsy time to do it.
Yeah. I signed that lease in March of 2021. And people are like, are you an idiot?
That was a year after gyms were forced to close.
Yeah. Gyms are dead. And you're opening up a business in the middle of COVID. Nobody's coming back to me.
Were you able to get a favorable lease on that?
Yeah.
I got a good deal. About to say,
yeah. And it's still high, and I got a pretty good deal on it. But so many people were like, that's the worst idea. And I'm like, I'm just going to double down on New York, and see what happens. But it took me 2 years to get it to this point where I'm like, okay, things are cruising.
Cruising.
But it wasn't because I spent my weekends in the fucking Hamptons. It wasn't because I was traveling all the time.
No, but if you were in the Hamptons, you were with a client, or you were doing some type of event, or he was doing some vodka pop up with them.
And I have two coaches at the gym. Like, I had Christy there. I had,
she's great.
Danielle. Yeah, I had them busting their ass at the gym while I was out in the Hamptons. And it's like, I would leave to go to the Hamptons at 5 a.m., train 3 people in the morning, do an event in the afternoon and then come back and then drive back to the city so I could train clients on Sunday.
But that's what it takes. And people don't understand that's what it takes. A lot of them would say, well, 3-hour ride or 2-hour ride, whatever it is, to train 3 hours, is it really worth it? And yeah, it's opportunity, and he's getting himself in the mix. Where's he going to be better off? Sitting home, relaxing on the couch, watching TV, or getting himself in front of people? You never know when that person's going to walk in to your facility. You never know when out of nowhere a client's going to show up with a guest that out of nowhere is just going to, I cannot begin to tell everyone how many times a client has introduced me to someone that has literally changed my life, in that moment. And you never expect it, but like the line should be like opportunity. Can you give yourself more opportunity this year?
It's funny because you never know who's paying attention to what you're doing.
No.
So recently I just got an opportunity that, somebody wanted to buy everything that I had and offer me a position at their, business and stuff. And I was like, holy shit. I was like, how'd you find out about me? They were like, I've been watching you for a while. I'm like, it's fucking crazy.
Yeah.
They were like, it seems like you never stop. I'm like, shit. I was like, so you just do what you do really well continuously all the time, and like people will take notice. Be so good they can't ignore you.
Right. And treat people good. Treat them well. Treat them well, everyone. Like Derek, you too. Like Derek, how many hours have you put into coaching people where all you had in return was just to see them do well, or your whole agenda was just to help?
My whole development as a track coach was coaching for free because track people can't afford to pay, right? So I learned essentially volunteering. My primary professional development is volunteering while I had a strength coach job and I go coach track. And now I was talking to somebody who he says, oh, I make all of my money online and I'm doing really well. I said, why don't you go volunteer at the high school, the local high school, and just coach, right? Because you don't know when you're going to not have that and you want to have this skill developed, or and just having that human interaction. So I'm a huge fan of getting people to volunteer. Like, why not?
It's a good question to ask a lot of coaches, like early on in their career. If you had a client, I would ask coaches this: if you had a client that didn't show and you were getting paid for that session, are you going to go on the floor and try and, maybe give away an hour of your time to someone that you could potentially land in the future, or are you getting coffee? And it's like, it's a really good question to ask, because a lot of time they're like, well, I'm getting paid to have coffee. And I would be like, I'm getting paid for the hour. So why don't I help this person out? Because maybe I can double down, like you just said. And maybe next thing you know, I trust in my ability that if I'm in front of them in an hour, they're going to look at me as a necessity, not a luxury.
Yeah. It's so true. And it's like that mentality, that's why I fucking worship what you're saying.
I love it. I'm so proud of you, man. Seriously.
It's so impressive because I tell people all the time, like, you're going to meet people at an event like this, in any event. I've been to Tony Robbins, I've been to stuff, and you listen and hear what people say, and you're like, oh my God, you're drawn to it because it's almost the way you feel, right? Just somebody said it out loud to you, and now you're like, I love this person because they're saying the things that you agree with. No one ever says anything you don't agree with, and you're like, oh, I love that guy.
Right.
It's always somebody you kind of gravitate towards those people where you're like, oh, I believe this, and now this guy's just reinforcing what I believe.
And it becomes inspiring, guys, right? It really does. Like, as long as you've been in the industry, you can't tell me you haven't sat there after being in this 20 plus years, Derek, and have been inspired by hearing someone talk or hearing their story or saying to yourself, you know what? I went through the same thing. And you know what? It actually makes me feel good to hear that they're okay, because then I got to keep pushing, and that's what I think is what it's all about. So, so what are the dates of the event? Can you reiterate?
So November 18th is Strong New York.
Right.
We'll start the day with a free workout outside. I wanted to do something where it's like, if people couldn't afford the ticket and come in, we're offering workouts and fitness to anybody and everybody who wants to come. A couple of our partners will be giving away like free drinks and food and stuff outside. So if you can't make it to the event, or you don't want to pay for a ticket, we still have free stuff for you. And then when you get into the event, it's just all on. Every hour on the hour, we'll have different workouts, talks going on. There's a full expo, so many different things. I have everything from a tattoo artist to hair braiding, to a guy doing haircuts, to food and, you know, drinks and everything in between.
Well, last year was fun, even from the vendor standpoint of being able to hop around and in a way kind of, you know, window shop a bit and see what products are out there and see the meal delivery services that come in. As a coach, it's an opportunity for me to see, all right, what's new? And you're reading labels and you're talking to people and you're, you know, it's always, I always admire a lot of these vendors who come in and they donate their time for a full day because, you know, they're grinding, you know, they're working hard, and, you know, sometimes good things can come of that. So,
and I tell people, I've been a vendor now this summer at like 4, maybe 5 different events. So Bev Francis does his bodybuilding show in Jersey. So I was a vendor there. I was a vendor at my buddy's gym just this past weekend. Another friend of mine did this huge CrossFit event. So I was a vendor there. And I always look at it from a vendor standpoint, from a spectator standpoint, and from running the event. You know, so I try to deliver. I'm like, all right, what would I want if I was one of these people? And I try to deliver the best possible product. I'm like, how could I get you in front of as many people as possible? Because that's what I want, right? Whether I'm selling shirts or I'm trying to get people to the event, I'm like, all right, how could they put me on? What would that look like? And how could I build somebody's business? Because I want people to be like, oh, I went to Strong New York last year and sold 10,000 copies of my book. Or I went to Strong New York and I got 5 new clients. Or I went. Like, I want that. Why would I not want people to have the best possible
100%.
experience?
And that's even today, like, I'm sorry you got stuck in that much traffic, but that's really a testament to Kenny and the type of person he is, because the fact that he was willing to ride and jump in a car for 2.5 hours to be out here where honestly most people 30 minutes in would be like, this is too much. He came out here for 1 hour to just what are we trying to do here? We're trying to educate people. We're trying to help them. And, you know, hopefully I'm hoping anyone who hears this, and Derek, we got to get this up before the event.
Right away. I'm getting on it right away, guys.
Right, but it's like, come meet us down there. Come have a conversation with me. If I'm on the floor and I'm there hanging out, come over, pick my brain about fitness, pick my brain about business. Talk to me about what you're going through. If you are our coach, is there any way that we can help out or we can give you some insight? You're going to find that the people, and Derek, I know you're the same way. Kenny, I know as busy as Kenny is, you can go grab him on the floor. He could be running over to handle something. You say, Kenny, I got to talk to you. I got to ask you something. He's going to put the brakes on. He's going to talk to you. These are the environments that you want to be in. So the dates again, you said November 18th.
November 18th. So the night before, I'm going to try to put together. We're going to have a dinner for all the presenters and the the different brands that'll be there. So I'm figuring that out right now. And we're going to have so our partner, we partnered with the City Harvest.
Yeah.
So they're going to be our charity partners.
Awesome.
So we're going to get a celebrity chef to cook a whole meal.
Oh my God. How incredible is that?
It's going to be sick.
Oh, we're going to have a blast.
Yeah.
I can't wait for that.
We're just putting the pieces together with the venue.
Okay.
So that'll be fun. So you could buy a Ultra VIP ticket to that dinner, and that's going to be all the. But you guys obviously all get it.
Yeah, but what a good idea too. I mean, if I was in the crowd, I'd want to show up and I'd want to just to have the ability to ask questions.
Yep. Yeah.
And I think it's awesome.
But I tell people, even if you're not in the health and wellness industry, just knowing you and like knowing how passionate both of you guys are about what you do and how well you've done it,
right?
Anybody can learn from you. And if you work in real estate, if you work in sales, whatever you're doing, like to know the two of you guys and the level of people that you guys have both worked with.
Appreciate that.
You'd be an idiot not to want to pick your brain.
Well, listen, let us know any other way that we can help out.
And make sure you pick up some strong New York gear, because like Kenny hooked me up, and it doesn't matter where I go. People are like, "Where'd you get that?" Like, right. I'll be in Arizona, I'll be in Toronto, and they're like, "Where do I get that?" Right. So yeah.
One of my things that I love more than the event is like art. Like I love putting artwork on t-shirts and stuff. It's just a billboard for the event. And I've probably given away more than I've sold just because I love it. You know, I enjoy doing it. So
all right, so November 18th, you can purchase VIP tickets if they want to join us for dinner that Friday night, which hopefully anyone listening to this, please do that and come hang out with us, have dinner. And I mean, it's going to be a great, 3 days?
You guys will be in for the weekend. I was actually talking to a couple of trainers about that Sunday after. Like I have the gym open. I know Derek's doing an event that Sunday. We're down at Soho Strength Lab, right?
Yeah. We'll just do a deep dive into some sprint stuff and all that. If people want to go to that, that'd be great too. But yeah, but I want if you guys can come by too, that'd be great.
No, definitely. I'm definitely coming by. But I've been telling a bunch of people, I'm like, hey, listen, if you were coming in for the weekend, if you're from Chicago, LA, wherever you're coming in from, make the weekend of it. Come to dinner.
Yes.
Go to your event, you know, and get as much out of that as you possibly can. If you're spending a couple $100, you know, and on our website and stuff, we have the hotels that you can get a discounted rate at if you're at Strong New York.
Awesome.
But it's a great opportunity to just deep dive into this world, especially if you're in the industry. It's a no-brainer.
100%. So we're going to put a link up, obviously with the podcast on that, or your social handles.
At Kenny Santucci and at Strong New York.
Yeah, and obviously, if you don't want to know how to spell that, because we're our names and vowels, just go to my Instagram, type in Kenny Santucci, and it'll pop up. But listen, man, every time I'm together with you, it's always awesome to connect. And anything you need out of Derek and I, you let us know. Love you. We're so proud.
You guys have already done too much.
No,
I get it.
No, not at all. Just keep doing you.
One of the things when I went to Derek's the first time, the second time Derek came around, it was like a year later. I told Chrissy, I was like, "You have to go see this guy.
He's the best.
He's the fucking best."
And then he took us out to dinner a couple of times, and it's like, whoa, look at this place. I mean, he just knows where to go too, right? So
I love it. All right, guys. Listen, Derek, thank you. Great day.